The Hustleshare podcast is sponsored by Aspire. Trusted by 15,000 businesses across Asia, Aspire offers a unified suite of financial services, allowing businesses to make fast international payments to 130 plus countries, global payments at the best FX rates, and open multi-currency accounts in US dollars, euros, Great British Pound, Singaporean dollars, Indonesian rupiah, and more. All accessible on via a single user-friendly platform, Aspire. And also by Uno Digital Bank, a full-spectrum digital bank licensed and regulated by the BSP. Manage your money and maximize its potential growth with a secure and trusted bank that fits right in your pocket. Open a savings or time deposit account, pay bills, shop with the Uno Virtual Debit MasterCard, or apply for a loan in the Uno mobile app today. The Hustleshare podcast is sponsored by Lark, the leading super app for work in Southeast Asia. Frustrated with juggling and paying for multiple tools for work? Hate mixing personal and business messages? Improve your team's productivity by 10 times with Lark, which combines business chat, email, video conferencing, calendar, project management, real-time translation, and much more into one super app. Trusted by companies like Xiaomi, Glintz, Kumu, and Mamaluz. Get it for free at larksuite.com today. This podcast is brought to you by Salmon, your trusted source for all your financial needs. Whether you're looking for easy financing with low down payments and fast approval, or seeking high returns with their 8.88% interest on time deposits, Salmon has you covered. Visit salmon.ph today and discover how they can help you achieve your financial goals. Rural Bank of Santa Rosa Laguna Incorporated is regulated by the BSP. For any concerns, email consumeraffairs@bsp.gov.ph. Deposits are insured by PDIC up to 500,000 pesos per depositor.
So after business school, I moved to Singapore with Syndicatum, and I spent about a year and a half with Syndicatum, at which point I left and I joined a commodity trading company working with a CEO on investments, right? Investing in, high-tech stuff and low-tech stuff, but effectively things to streamline the business and make the traders more effective.
Welcome to Hustleshare, the podcast that features the daily grinds of unique hustlers around the world to show not our differences, but that our hustles are very much alike. Now here's your host, Ronster Baetiong.
Welcome to this episode of the Share Podcast. I'm finally getting this guy on board. Again, apologies for the last time. We were supposed to record this a week prior, but stupid me left this charger of my laptop at home. I was like, what? I was supposed to be having an amazing episode with you already, but again, things happen for a reason. I'm in my perfect setup. I would have done that remotely. But again, without further ado, let's welcome to the show, Mr. Mark Dembitz of Lark. Whoop, whoop. Welcome to the show, Mark.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you so much again. Super duper appreciate you being flexible. But again, I've been raving about Lark. It is crazy. And again, just shout out to my friend Rohan Halig, who also is from ByteDance. He says like, you know what? She came from another startup here in the Philippines, e-commerce accelerator startup. And then when she goes, Ron, I got to ByteDance and there's this thing they use inside called Lark. I love it. And it's like everything that you need is there. It's like it's super intuitive. It's like, what? Okay. I first heard of it and I just got super curious. And then recently I just bumped into it again. And I'm like, what the hell? I gotta have this. And now we are. And again, super happy that we have chosen this. But Mark, again, thanks so much. But before I get carried away, I need to ask you the $1 million question.
Bring
Mark,
it.
What's your hustle?
My hustle is to make people more productive. My hustle is to allow people to do more and then go home earlier, have more fun with their friends, their families, while having accomplished more during their workday.
That is amazing. And again, you can only do that with the help of the most powerful super app for work, obviously,
That's right.
in Lark. But before we not talk about that and talk about the amazing things again, we will talk about features and why it just a super app and super intuitive. I need to go back first and understand your journey, because each hustler, if your especially if your job, if your mission is to make everyone more productive at work so that they can go home, you had to put in the work very early in your life and hustle your way through as well. Because now we're going to have to go all the way back and see your origin story. Because we're going to have to ride the Hustleshare time machine. And we are in Singapore right now, picking you up. Because I want to understand, man. Again, you've been hustling. I went before when we did our first exploratory meeting. You mentioned that you've been around for a while. I'm not carbon dating you, but you've been hustling.
I'm old, man. I'm old.
I'm old as well, but you look younger than me. It's so weird. But I want to understand, what's your first exposure to hustling that you remember, and how did that impact you growing up?
Well, hustling has always been a part of me and my family. I come from a family of immigrants, Eastern Europeans who migrated to Western Europe in the 50s. That was my father's story.
Wow.
I grew up, modestly, but my father was an entrepreneur and I saw him hustle, right?
Wow.
And he's still hustling. He's 76 years old and he doesn't need to work, but he still works. Because it's important, because it keeps him young, and because it's an awesome thing to do.
Absolutely.
So I was exposed to that very young. I always knew I wanted to do something similar.
Okay.
I started, I think my earliest hustle was probably mowing lawns and cutting hedges for people when I was a kid.
Nice.
I remember walking up and down the driveway where I lived and putting flyers in everybody's mailboxes saying, okay, I can cut your hedge for $10. And I did a little bit of that. I would say my second hustle after that was probably at university, where it wasn't monetarily, in the US.
By the way, I'm just going to flex it. It's not just any university. This guy studied in an Ivy League school in Brown. Okay. It's not just any uni, by the way. It's not a run-of-the-mill, whatever. Fair. Okay.
Fair. I went to Brown. I had an absolutely wonderful time. And the best thing that Brown did for me is it taught me how to think. And it taught me how to do a lot of different things at the same time. So I didn't study anything specific. I didn't go in wanting to be an engineer or an economist or something. I didn't know what I wanted to do, which is why, coming from Europe, I went to university in the US in the first place.
Got it.
But it was much broader. It allowed me to play around with stuff. And I studied things like French literature and planetary geology and a whole bunch of other stuff. I did know two things, though. I knew that languages were important. And languages are important to me. It was drummed into me by my parents that languages are important because they help you communicate and understand culture and people.
Absolutely.
And so I grew up speaking 3 languages.
Which ones?
French, because I grew up in Switzerland. English, for speaking English with my father. And Hungarian, speaking Hungarian with my mother.
Wow.
I grew up in Switzerland in the French-speaking part. I had to learn another language at school because Switzerland is multilingual. So I picked German.
Wow.
And so I had 4 languages, and I knew the power of that. And when I went to college, I said, look, I know I want to learn a non-European language. And I picked Chinese.
Mandarin. Okay.
So why did I pick Mandarin? Like, I wish I could sit here and tell you and all your listeners that, because I'm super smart and I had this foresight of how awesome China would be, what they would be. But that would be a lie.
Okay.
I picked Chinese because I'd never been to Asia. China seemed far away and mysterious. Okay. Very long and rich history and far away and mysterious.
Dynasties and all that.
All that stuff. And because, quite simply, I thought the Chinese characters looked cool.
Yes. Especially if they were tattoos. Growing up, I was like, I want to do a Chinese tattoo.
You got to be careful with that. I've seen so many Chinese tattoos where, the character actually means something else than people think. I don't have any tattoos, Chinese characters or others. So I knew I wanted to learn an Asian language and I picked Chinese. And I knew I wanted to be on the fencing team.
Fencing team.
Fencing. I grew up fencing. It was my sport. It was a competitive sport. And I knew I wanted to be on a fencing team in the United States. Wow. So I picked a college that was good academically, where I could learn Chinese and where I could be on a fencing team. And Brown. And so that's pretty good. I'll go there.
Mm-hmm. Now, sounds good. Now, again, one thing about sports, and I like how contrarian you are, because that's obviously a foreshadowing of your career. Of like, all right, I want to experience all these three, and these are the prerequisites for me to be able to get the learning that you want. Because obviously, sports teaches you discipline and determination and grit. Right? It's not easy. Also, it teaches you competition and how being a graceful competitor without, I have a sports background as well. Basketball, obviously, the religion in the Philippines. It's not Catholicism. It's not Christianity. It's basketball. Everybody speaks basketball in the Philippines.
Fair point.
But the type of, when you play organized sports, it's character building, right? And you bring that no matter how old you get, that's embedded in you, because there's so much to learn about sports, especially in a team sport or any sport that requires teammates, right? There's preparation and all that, and that's actually what you do in work, right?
That's right. I mean, there's a lot of parallels between work and team sports, or sports in general.
Yep.
In particular, when you say competitive sports and sales or commercially oriented activities, right? Yeah. If you compete, you win or you lose, right? Losing isn't bad. Like, you win or you learn, right? Mm-hmm. It's the same thing when you push sales for a product, right? You either win a deal or you learn from it. So there's a lot of parallels. I have to tell you, like, very interestingly, I never was much of a team sports person. My sports are individual. I played tennis growing up, but my sport is fencing. And fencing, I love because I think it's very complete.
Yep.
It's physical, it's mental, it's strategic. It requires strong reflexes and strong grit. Mm-hmm. I also like that it empowers responsibility, right?
Yes.
I'm not a team sports person, but I was never very good at team sports. Mm-hmm. What I like about individual sports is I win, it's big thanks to me. I lose, it's my fault. I can't say, I played an amazing, I'm a soccer, you're a striker and you played an amazing game.
Right.
But your goalkeeper let 10 goals in, so you lose. So there's
a blame game.
You shouldn't play a blame game. But here, when it's one person and it's one-on-one, then it's you. Now, interestingly enough, I'm extremely competitive when it comes to sports and with my individual sports. But in my business life, I really am not very individualistic. I am very, very much pro team. We win together and we lose together. It takes a village to win. In particular, in a world of startups and scale-ups, which I've operated in for most of my life.
Mm-hmm. Totally agree. And even if it's an individual sport, yes, the main event is an individual sport, but you cannot do this alone because you need to practice. And in practice, that's where you need a team, a coach, fellow fencers that you go up against, and then the objective by you competing internally with in that same team, you make each other better, right? They're not really competition. Yes, during the event, yes, they are, but behind closed doors when you're prepping, that's it. And that's what also does well in a startup, right? At the end of the day, it's those little fundamentals that you put in that will come in today, because you cannot expect to be great if you did not pay those work or that put in the work on a daily basis to grind it out.
It's the 10,000 hours that everybody keeps talking about, right? And I don't know if it's 10,000 or 11,000 or 9,000, but it's repetition. Over and over again. There's a photo that I love. It's everywhere and it's not original, but you have the photo of the iceberg, and the tip of the iceberg is, success and victory and all that stuff. Yeah. And you see that, but you don't see the hours, months of failure, of hard work, of disappointment, of stuff. And you can't get to the top of the iceberg if you haven't built it on all that foundation.
Totally agree. And just again, you said it right. Success is an iceberg. What you see is what people often see, like, oh my God, this guy's an overnight success, but they never saw the prep work. They never saw the dirty stuff that they had to go through just to get there. And again, totally agree. And I love again what your mindset is, that in an individual sport, the buck stops with you. Because if you're ever going to become a founder or a CEO at that, you cannot play the blame game. The buck stops with you. Everything stops with you. And you only have two choices. Either you run away and you wimp out, or you show up and get it done.
That's right.
That's it. There's no, I don't like extremes, but in this situation, those are the only options you have.
I agree.
All right. Now, you did Brown. And by the way, I'll just flex you, man. There's not a lot. I don't know a lot of Brown peeps, but you graduated summa cum laude. So obviously the opportunities that you're going to be presented are going to be many. Right. But what were the first few hustles that you did coming out of school?
Right. Well, the first hustle is probably one of the things I'm most proud of and has nothing to do with work. Okay. I actually tried to qualify for the Olympics.
What? Oh my God. Which one?
And it was Athens, 2004.
Athens. Okay.
I told you I'm old.
Okay.
And guess what happened? I failed. I didn't make it.
Okay.
Now, I trained hard for 2 years and I didn't make it. Could I have trained harder? Yes.
Under the Switzerland team, was it?
Yes, for the Swiss team.
Right.
I moved to Hungary. I knew I needed to have a different trajectory because the guys I was going up against for the national team were already quite a bit better than I was. Mm-hmm. And I needed to accelerate my learning. And I knew I couldn't do that in Switzerland. I had to go to somewhere which had stronger people and better training. And so I moved to Hungary.
Wow.
It was also nice because it helped me reconnect with my roots. Because as I said earlier, I'm Hungarian, or my family's Hungarian. But it allowed me to reconnect with my family and friends there and really spend 2 years training.
Okay.
Yes, unfortunately, I did not make the Olympics in 2004. And so then I started thinking about what I should do next.
Okay.
Like, should I train another 4 years and try to go to Beijing? And the answer was no.
Well, what did that teach you? Because most people, again, when people in sports, failure teaches you more than winning. What did that effort, that despite your best foot forward, best effort, again, toiling in Budapest, I'm assuming in Budapest, right? That, you can come up short. But what did that teach you about yourself, and how did that change your perspective moving forward?
Well, it teaches you to look disappointment straight in the face and say, look, am I disappointed? Yes. But is it the end of the world? No, right? Not the end of the world. Life goes on. I mean, it's at the end of the day, it's also a very, I would say, in my particular situation, a first world problem, right? Okay, I didn't make the Olympics. So what? Right?
Yeah.
Then you have decision making. Like, okay, I'm not going to make it. Then what am I going to do? Am I going to continue on this path and do this for another 4 years? And if so, what are the consequences? In my particular case, if I do this for another 4 years, I'll be 28 years old. Maybe I go to Beijing Olympics. Maybe I win a medal. And then what? Then I'll have fenced for most of my life until then. And is that what I want to do for the rest of my life? Do I want to be a fencing coach? And my personal answer for me was no. So then you have to, from a strategy perspective, okay, what do I do? Okay, I'm going to stop. And if I stop, then what am I going to do? And that's a decision I had to make in 2004. And that process of making decisions is something I learned there. And this is a big, tough trade-off. I liked something. I wanted to continue, but I didn't like the long-term prospect of that. So I had to make a tough choice. And I feel that business-wise today and leadership-wise, we all have to make tough choices all the time. So this just teaches you that you can just make it and it will be okay.
Got it. All right. Now, in that said, what was the first hustle that you did? Just I'm looking at your LinkedIn again. We're gonna breeze through this because you've been around the world.
First work hustle. All right. My very first work hustle was with Goldman Sachs. I was a private banker in Zurich, and I learned something very interesting from that experience too. And I really learned to trust my gut. Right.
Wow.
I went after a nice, big, flashy brand. I was vain. I was like, Goldman Sachs is great, and I want that brand. And I took a job in private banking when my gut told me that I wasn't really cut out for it. It's not really the path I wanted to go down. And I learned a lot, but I also learned that my gut was right and that I didn't like private banking and I wasn't cut out for it. So then after a year and some, I moved on.
Got it.
And I moved on to something that I was much more interested in, that I really wanted to do. And ultimately, without which I wouldn't be where I am today.
Okay. And what was that?
So I joined a little company in the UK called SeekCap. And I joined it because they were building a new business doing carbon finance.
Carbon finance. What is that?
So if you remember the Kyoto Protocol from back in 2000 and the late 90s, early 2000s, it was all about how do we reduce emissions so that we try to keep global warming below the 2 to 2.5 degrees, which in hindsight, we didn't.
Which we all failed spectacularly.
We failed objectively at actually doing that.
Yeah.
But that was our first attempt. And I liked two things about this.
Okay.
I liked the idea of something entrepreneurial. What I didn't like about private banking was that I didn't feel I personally was adding a lot of value. I was never going to make a rich person rich. A rich person was already rich. Right? I wasn't a lot of things in the world.
Yeah.
It felt that by joining a small company trying to build something, I was actually a bigger cog in a smaller machine, and I could actually influence how things worked, no matter how junior I was. Mm-hmm. And I really liked the topic of climate change. It was a big problem, something that really matters to the world. And how can I try in my own very tiny way to contribute towards that? Wow. So I joined this group in the UK, worked for them in London for a while, and then followed them and moved with them from London to China.
And this is where the Chinese Mandarin speaking stuff comes in, right?
So I studied Chinese at university.
Right.
Now these guys sent me to China. That gave me China experience, not just language-wise and study-wise, but working in China with Chinese people, understanding the culture, right? And without that 3 years experience in China, I'm convinced I would not be working at ByteDance today.
That's it. But again, the one thing about the timing also, 2006 to 2009 is literally the boom of China. This is where the bull run of all bull runs happen. And in 2008, that's when the Olympics happened in Beijing as well. But also, that's right smack in the middle because of that massive industrialization. Man, the conditions of those cities are pretty filthy. And if you're trying to actually do something about the climate change, that's right smack in the middle of how rapid urbanization or industrialization looks like. What was that experience like doing that?
I loved the 3 years I spent in China between 2006 to 2009. As you say, it was really, things were booming, things were changing, right? They were cleaning the city up and the country up to get ready to welcome the world for the Olympics.
Yep.
And it was just fascinating to see how fast things could change, right? And how much effort went into it. And it was a wonderful period of my life where I was in my late 20s. I was unattached. I was traveling all over China for work into all the provinces. I was doing some, I traded in, it wasn't all rosy, right? I traded in as nice suits in Zurich and private banking and stuff like that. And I had stole-capped shoes, and I was walking around landfills and coal mines.
Yeah.
But that's real. That's the real economy, right? We as a civilization, we consume a lot and we produce trash. Well, where does that trash go? It goes into landfill. We need to power ourselves, right? Now, thankfully, there's a lot of renewables, but that comes from coal, right? That's the real economy, and I think that's super tangible, and I really enjoyed that time, diving into all that stuff.
Well, what were the major skill stacks you unlocked in yourself here? Because I'm looking at it, you became in China when you at least finished the Chinese stint for SeekCap. You're the vice president of business development, and then you still moved to another country for almost 2 years in Singapore with the same company, right? But what were the skill stacks you were building as you were doing up? Because you were rapidly scaling up and being thrown to new territories to get more stuff done.
Look, ultimately, the two things I learned, if I had to sort of really narrow it down to two things, in my experience in China and the one afterwards as well in Singapore. One, I confirmed that I loved growing companies. I love entrepreneurship, right? Love joining small companies and helping them grow and scaling that. That was fun for me. Like it's hard, it's difficult work, but how do you're building the machine. You're not just making, turning the handle and of the sausage machine and making sausages and just operating the business. You're building the machine. And I really fell in love with that. And then I also learned that there is no business without sales.
Yes. Sales cure all.
Like, sales is the beating heart of any business because frankly, there's only one place. You only get money from two places: customers or investors. And investors only give you money so that you can go get more money from customers, right? And so many businesses today just don't, yes, sales is important, but I guess in some ways, some companies act, they don't think sales is important, right? And that's wrong. Sales is the beating heart of the business. And I love that. And if I want to grow businesses, I have to learn how to sell because I fundamentally believe that it's everybody's job at a company to sell. Right?
Correct. Absolutely. I totally agree. My core skill, if you strip me of all my skills, is sales or persuasion. That's it. If you're able to persuade people to give you a piece of their cash or whatever currency that is, credit card, whatever, and to add the value in exchange for the value that you give, that's what it is. And nothing validates a business than your cash flow. That's it, right?
And look, I would go even beyond that. Like, it's easy to say, so many people say, oh, I'm not a salesperson. But the truth is, everybody sells because, okay, you may not be in the business of selling a product and getting money for it.
Yeah.
Everybody in their lives exchanges thoughts and opinions and tries to convince somebody to see things their way or to do it another way. It could be a couple saying, where are we going this weekend? It could be a parent and a child. It could be friends deciding which restaurant to eat at or what to cook, right? Persuade, you said it, persuasion. Like, that is sales. You are selling yourself, your ideas, your thoughts, and everybody does it every day, right? It's a completely natural and human thing to do.
I totally agree. And we can go on a tangent here and talk about sales, but we need to take a break. And when we come back, we will now talk about the rest of your career and how that ended up with you joining Lark as the GM for APAC. Well, let's talk about that more after the break. Hey hustlers, how are companies like Pizza Hut, Tech in Asia, and Love Bonito saving $28,000 a year? Well, Aspire is an all-in-one finance solution designed for modern businesses. Over 15,000 companies across Asia are using Aspire to streamline business financial processes, saving both time and money. Now, Aspire understands the demand of your business, and these are their offers. Lightning-fast international transfers enabling money movement across 130 plus countries, the best FX rates with no hidden fees ensuring transparency, and multi-currency accounts in US dollars, euros, Great British pounds, Singaporean dollar, Indonesian rupiah, and more, facilitating transactions in multiple currencies. And guess what? Opening an account can be done 100% online, making access to a global business account effortless. Aspire works with thousands of startups across Asia, offering an easy way to open a business account to receive investments from VCs. Aspire is backed by global top-tier VCs including Sequoia and Y Combinator and has been recognized by CB Insights as one of the top 100 most promising fintechs globally. Join over 15,000 businesses across Asia that have already made the switch to Aspire and experience the future of business finance. For more details, visit aspireapp.com. That's ASPIREAPP.com. Again, that's aspireapp.com. And let's make business finance simple, integrated, and borderless together. Hey hustlers, money issues and financial stress are a reality we all face, and ignoring them won't make them disappear. That's why our sponsor Salmon is committed to making managing your finances easy and more accessible. With Salmon financing, you can shop to over 2,000 Salmon partner stores nationwide and bring home your dream purchases today with a low down payment starting at just 10%. Plus, it's super easy to apply. Just one valid ID is needed and you can get approved right then and there. No need to wait for payday. Just take what you need now and pay for it over time. And if you're someone that's looking for ways to grow your money, Salmon's time deposit accounts at the Rural Bank of Santa Rosa, Laguna which is regulated by the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas, offers a fantastic 8.88% interest rate for a 12-month term for deposits of more than 500,000 pesos. That's currently the highest rate in the Philippines. Deposits are also insured by the PDIC with up to 500,000 pesos per depositor, so you know your money is safe and secure. It's definitely a great way to make your money work harder for you effortlessly. Since launching in 2022, Salmon has raised over $60 million and is backed by industry giants like the IFC, ADQ, and Northstar Group, ensuring they're a reliable partner in your financial journey. So whether you need financing, credit, or high-return savings option, Salmon has you covered. So visit salmon.ph today to see how they can help you achieve your financial goals with ease. Again, that's salmon.ph. Finance made easy with Salmon. And we're back with a break. We are still with Mark Dembitz that told us the amazing journey that he's had. And again, we could have gone into a wild tangent about sales because, sales is my hustle. But we're not going to do that because we're just going to go through real quick the other stops that this guy went through. Because again, each step in somebody's career is like a new level that you unlock. You learn new things and you carry that along. And a better version of yourself, whether you go through shit or not, always comes out. So the next step after Syndicatum, which you did, you stayed put in Singapore and you were, walk us through the next couple of steps that you did.
So I left China. I went to business school. I wanted a more formal business education because I'd studied Chinese, and I went to INSEAD.
Okay.
I came back from INSEAD. I was going to start a company, a startup after that, but I met my wife and I decided that the relationship was going to be more important than doing a startup right now.
Okay.
So a bit of risk management there. I didn't want both the business, the startup and the relationship to fail. So at the same time, so I had to pick one. Okay. I picked my girlfriend, who is now my wife. And
there you go.
Kids, and I made the right.
That's a good choice.
I made the right choice. And so I moved back. So after business school, I moved back. I moved to Singapore with Syndicatum. And I spent about a year and a half with Syndicatum, at which point I left and I joined a commodity trading company working with a CEO on investments, right? Investing in, high-tech stuff and low-tech stuff, but effectively things to streamline the business and make the traders more effective.
Got it.
After that, I joined a UK-based startup and built out their initial Singapore presence. So built out their business model for Asia Pacific.
Okay.
But on the tail end of that, we had our first child, and I needed to look for something a little bit that was a little bit bigger than something of a pure startup. And I had the very good fortune of joining an American scale-up called Spire.
Wow.
Which is the fantastic business, builds satellites that are the size of a bottle of wine. They operate a swarm of satellites collecting data, and I was the APAC head of sales and business development for them, selling data to mainly supply chain and maritime data to many people who needed to buy that data.
That's amazing. Now, okay, there's a common theme here: business development, sales, and whatnot. I'll just go on a small tangent real quick. If you firmly believe, like I do, how important sales is, and I always say it, I credit Mark Cuban and saying, I don't care what your business is going through, whatever shit you're going through, sales cure all. As long as you have money coming in through sales, you're going to be just fine. You're going to eventually have enough time to figure out your problems. But what is the Mark Dembitz strategy or formula in doing sales that we can share?
I like to think that sales is about people. But first, if I take a step back, I think there are very different kinds of selling.
Okay.
Right? You can sell a commoditized product. For example, you want to sell cups and glasses, right? Knives and forks, whatever. Like it's very iterative, as in, you can sell it. You pick up the phone, like, do you want to buy this? You don't want to buy it. You put the phone down, and you repeat and repeat and repeat and repeat, and you will sell what you need to do. Yeah. Then you have things that are more complex to sell, right? Mm-hmm. Things that require longer sales cycles, that require more relationships.
Yep.
And so not all sales are created equal, first of all.
Totally agree.
But ultimately, it is people who buy things. So to sell and to sell well, you have to know how to build relationships with people, right?
Right.
That's the most important thing you can do. And it starts from when you pick up the phone for that cold call, right? And you call someone like, hey, Ron, I'm Mark. Let me ask you a question. And can you pick up on the nuances in the person's voice? Like, can you sense in your gut what excites them, what does not? And if you can do that, then you're on a good path to being a good salesperson.
Absolutely. And establishing that rapport, being versatile, whoever you're talking to. And the best people that sell do not sound like they're selling, right? And most people actually, the best people that I know in terms of selling do not even make me feel like you're hard selling or selling me a long ass email or on LinkedIn and whatnot. Yeah. Nope. I don't need that. I probably don't need that. They allow you to talk. They allow you to share. And then they pick up on these buying signals or these pain points and find a way to solve that for them. It's not all about money right away. Money it's not the end goal. It's building that relationship, because if you really build a strong relationship, that relationship will be multi-transactional. Correct. And you can actually have a monthly recurring revenue, and it's not a one night stand or wham bam, thank you, ma'am.
Correct.
There you go. I love it. Again, we don't want to go on tangent, but I just want to say the Mark Dembitz formula. Okay, we'll just breeze through this a few more before we talk about Lark. So obviously after Aspire, you did a couple more. We did Save Tax. You did Dathina, and again, sales and operation. What's Dathina?
Dathina is a cybersecurity company that was started in Singapore. Had a brilliant idea of how do you automatically classify information. And how do you feed that to DLP engines so that you protect corporate information, right?
Got it.
It was very interesting. It opened my eyes a lot about things that I didn't know. And funnily enough, it's quite connected to what I do today at Lark, because we'll get there. But a lot of people today use collaboration communication tools that are meant for personal relationships like WhatsApp, right? Yep. And they don't understand how insecure some of these applications are for business communication, corporate communication.
That is amazing. And again, you had another stint at Lark. Lark at Spire.
They call me back. Okay. I like them. They call me back. So I was very happy to go back and work with a lot of old friends, and we did some really amazing things. But then ByteDance came knocking.
Okay. I want to know about that ByteDance came knocking. So how did the ByteDance opportunity come through, and how did that translate to Lark? Because I'm pretty sure when you came into Lark, it was pretty much in infancy, what this looked like, and why did it attract you to do this? Because obviously you have the resume, you have the rep to back it up. But what made this super duper interesting for you?
So, okay, I did not know what Lark was. Okay. I knew what ByteDance was, and I was attracted to ByteDance because, look, it's a brand that is being built. It's something it's an exceptional company that has, that was really started 12 years ago. And in 12 years, they went from nothing to this giant corporation that is today. Yep. And so for somebody who's interested in growth and business, that there are question marks there, right? When I learned what Lark was, I was immediately attracted. Because so many things map back to things I'm interested in, right? What is Lark? Let me start really quickly, right? Lark is a communication and collaboration tool that ByteDance started. Effectively, it is ByteDance's central nervous system that allows people to create information, exchange information, communicate, to consume information in the most effective way. Mm-hmm. Now, this is about communication.
Right.
Why did I want to study why did I want to speak 5-6 languages? Because it's about communication, right?
Damn.
Communication is important. It's probably the most important thing, right? Why do people argue? Because they miscommunicate. Why is there war today? Because at a simplistic level, because various politicians or people don't communicate or don't want to communicate, right? I think if we can fix communication, make communication easier, a whole world opens up and we make the world a much better place. So that really. Second, within this umbrella of communication, right? If you think about corporate communication, how teams and companies communicate.
Mhm.
It evolved from smoke signals to then memos and
Morse code, whatever have you.
Morse code in the middle. That's right. Memos, then email, and people have been using email now for what 35, 40, 30 years almost.
Yep.
And then
instant messaging,
and then messaging, right? But from a corporate standpoint, email still remains the bulk of what people communicate. And yes, COVID allowed for really the takeoff of Zoom and Slack and Teams and sort of more instantaneous, less formal forms of messaging. Mm-hmm. But if you think about it, today, all the tools that exist are Western tools. And they're not just Western, they're American, right? Slack is American. Microsoft is American. Google is American. Zoom is American, right?
Apple.
All the major communication tools are American. Now, I love America. My wife is American. But I find it very interesting and a little bit sad that in this 21st century that is touted, and we can see it really is the Asian century,
right.
There is no major Asian communication tool, right? There isn't. There's a few pockets of them, like Zalo in Vietnam, which is like WhatsApp, and it's a great person-to-person tool. But there's no corporate communication tool that is not American. And I think it's a fascinating place to be for me as a Westerner. And the irony is not lost on me that it's my extreme honor to work for Lark, which is an Asian collaboration tool that is trying to, create and implement a different way of working, and a way of working that, is an Asian way of working, but it's a better way of working, right? It's a more efficient way of working. And that, I think that's an enormous challenge, and one that I absolutely love.
That's amazing. But how does, again, Lark obviously is coming into this game where there's existing incumbents, right? Yes. But how does Lark then differentiate itself from competitors in the APAC market? Or again, if they're Asian centric, everybody else is American. How do you guys carve out that path that's very unique to you?
So to answer that, let me take you through a little bit of why Lark was created, right? Okay. ByteDance used all kinds of tools as it grew. And it really was laser focused on what it wanted to do, which is to be an entertainment company, right? It did not want to create a B2B tool.
Yep.
Two very big things weren't quite right. Number one, they found that a lot of these Western tools are sort of single purpose tools. You have a video tool, which is what Zoom was initially, and now they are expanding. You have a chat tool, which is what Slack is. You have an email tool and a documentation tool, which is by and large what Google is, right? At least Google the workspace is.
Right.
And then what you really need is a combination of all these things. So you have to buy different things and then put them together somehow and link them so information flows kind of okay between all of them. And that's that's painful, right? Mm-hmm. It's simply painful. So ByteDance didn't like that, and they wanted to create something that was all in one, where no information got lost, where everything flowed super seamlessly, right? And you never really had to leave that one app. So that's one major differentiation point. This is something that is a big differentiator with Lark. It is super easy to create, distribute, and consume information directly from your mobile phone. And it doesn't matter what the size of your screen is, right? And that enables people to do their work wherever. I've been stuck in traffic in Bangkok from the airport to town. I hadn't done the work I needed to do, and I'll admit it clearly, for a strategy session, and my laptop was out of battery. On the call, on my phone, I was able to create the document while people before me were speaking, put in the tables, put in the numbers, put in the formulas, and I did that on my mobile phone. And it was super easy.
Right.
And that was relatively early in my tenure with Lark, and that made me fall in love with the tool even more.
Got it. That's amazing. Now, again, it's not all just rainbows and butterflies. I want to understand the primary challenges that you guys got and opportunities you face in driving the growth of Lark?
Look, I think the biggest challenge we have is that nobody knows us, right? I think the product is astounding.
Yep.
Nobody really knows us.
Not yet, at least.
Not yet. Now they're going to know us a lot more now. I'm counting on you. That's the biggest problem. We have an amazing thing that we want to share, want to develop, but you face, and this is a challenge, and it's also a great challenge to have, but we are competing with the biggest brand names in the industry, right? We're not in a niche industry with niche competitors, right?
Yeah.
We compete directly with the biggest brand names in the world. It doesn't get in tech, at least. It doesn't get much bigger than Google and Microsoft and Zoom and Slack, right?
Yep.
And that's a big that was one of our big problems. And we're trying to amend that now as we go forward. I'd say the other big thing we fight is inertia, right? Lark, for me, and I know it's easy for me to say, but Lark for me is clearly head and shoulders above anything else. Having said that, the other tools are not bad, right? So it's not like there's a really terrible thing and we're coming to be the savior. No, what we have is better, but what exists is decent. So how do we create enough urgency for people to say, look, let's get rid of something that's decent, and that's at the end of the day something quite sticky because it's how you've worked, right?
Yeah, totally agree. Now, I want to understand before we take our last break, right? What are the things that you remember that were the most vital things for you when you came in? Because again, Lark was pretty much nascent. You didn't even know about it when you come in. But then you went through, and all right, now you have this challenge, and it's kind of like a full circle moment for you, because all you really wanted to do when you were starting out in Brown was to learn how to communicate better. And now you have this communication tool that's basically built to just change the way people communicate at the workspace and make it more efficient for them so that they can actually hustle very well. But what were those first several steps that you remember that was pivotal in making you get that buy-in to just put Lark in the map here in the APAC region?
I think the first big challenge was, how do we get some wins under our belt, right? Now, there were already wins under our belts when I took over.
Got it.
Right? I will give credit where credit is due. I do stand on the shoulders of giants, as they like to say.
Shout out.
So what we really had to do was to get some more successes.
Got it.
And the decision that I made at the very beginning was that we're going to stop really targeting large companies 2 years ago, right? Because we were spending a lot of time targeting large companies, and that was very slow and not working. And we needed some wins under our belt. We needed some wins so that we could show ByteDance that, that Southeast Asia was really going well.
Yeah.
But we also, probably even more importantly than that, you need to motivate a team. We go back to the sports team, right? If you're part of a winning team, you're much more motivated.
Correct. And
so we needed that. So I refocused everything on, small to medium-sized businesses, got some traction there. And now I have to say that it's a long sort of medium-term strategy, but now in 2024, about a year and a half after we started, now we're seeing some really, really interesting traction with the larger brands. And I'm very, very pleased to say that, this quarter, we're going to have a couple of, between this quarter and next quarter, we're going to have a couple of very big wins with very big known brands that are going to come to us. And this validates the entire team's efforts.
That is amazing. All right, now let's take our last break, and when we come back, we will now talk about further what Lark is, and again, what's exciting about what's going to be happening in the ByteDance and Lark ecosystem with Mark. Let's talk about that more after the break.
Hey hustlers, wish there was an easy way to open a bank account and grow your money without the hassle of lengthy application process and income documents? Well, I got good news, because today's sponsor, Uno Digital Bank, is here to help you achieve your financial goals. You can easily open an account with the Uno app in just 5 minutes and one valid ID. And as one of the 6 digital banks licensed by the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas, the company is committed to providing customers with simpler, better, and more accessible banking. Last year, Uno Bank was recognized by the Asia Banking and Finance Awards and bagged the title Open Banking Initiative of the Year due to the success of its partnership with GCash, one of the Philippines' leading mobile wallet platforms. And with the Uno mobile app, you can access an hashtag Uno Ready savings account and enjoy daily interest crediting. With their hashtag Uno Earn or hashtag Uno Boost time deposit accounts, you can enjoy a high interest rate of up to 6.5% per annum. Enjoy monthly payouts with hashtag Uno Earn and flexible tenors with hashtag Uno Boost. Other app features include pay bills, the Uno Virtual Debit MasterCard, life insurance, scan and pay with QRPH, and loans. And the one thing that I really love about Uno Digital Bank is they're open to collaborate with a lot of Filipino startups. I've had a chance to see the partnerships that they've had lined up with the startups that they have, and it's truly exciting to see how a digital bank like Uno can enable startups to unlock the power of fintech through digital banking. So if you're ready to elevate your banking experience, download the Uno mobile app today from the Google Play Store or App Store. Or if you want to collaborate with them, I'll be happy to give you an intro. Just shoot us an email at hello@hustleshare.com. Hey hustlers, how many apps are you using at work these days? 5, 10, 20? Let's face it, there are chat apps for internal communication and emails for external, Cloud Drive for docs and wikis, calendars and video conferencing, spreadsheets and project management software, and probably yet another tool to connect them all. It is a mess. And if you're collaborating with cross-border colleagues, partners, or suppliers, it gets even more complicated. And don't you find it disruptive when your personal and business messages get mixed up? And if this sounds painfully familiar, switch to Lark, the leading super app for work designed to increase your team's productivity by 10x at an unbelievable fraction of the cost. With Lark, manage projects, chat with your team, build a knowledge base with wikis, and automate workflows such as approvals without code effortlessly from one app. No switching or integration needed. Join fast-growing companies in over 125 countries, including Xiaomi, Glint, and the Philippines' very own Kumu and Mama Luz, who trust Lark as their workplace super app. I've started using Lark myself for our pressure washing business service, Papa Pressure, and I'm totally loving it. Want to see how Lark can revolutionize your business? Click the link in the description or download Lark for free at larksuite.com. That's larksuite.com, the productivity super app every business needs.
And we're back from the break. We are still with Mark Dembitz, that told us the reason why he jumped into Lark and then why this became a full circle moment. But again, for those people who don't understand what they're missing out, can you just describe if this was able to power ByteDance to where it is today, easily one of the most, if not the biggest and the fastest growing company in the world. And that's why, again, the proof is in the pudding, right? What are the feature sets that we're talking about here? And can you describe why it's such a seamless and mobile first environment where you can actually pull off creating a presentation while you're stuck in traffic in Thailand?
Right. So maybe let me take a half a step back and not start from the exact features, but let me start from the philosophy, right? Okay. The philosophy, because what Lark actually is, Lark is a collaboration tool, but what it actually is it encompasses the philosophy with which ByteDance works, right? And ByteDance has a number of core beliefs, but I would say the major one that Lark maps to is that the tools you use shape the way you work, right? And if I think your listeners today walk away from this episode with one thing, I would like it to be this. Remember that the tools you use shape the way you work. And if you want to change the way your company works, right, the easiest and best way to do it is to change the tools, right? Imagine you're in your personal life. You need to go to the office and you usually take your car, right, or a bus. And you get to the bus stop and the bus is broken down and is not there.
You're screwed.
Well, you're not screwed, but you got to find another way to get to work. So now you have to walk to work or find another way, which completely disrupts your day, right? And if you walk to work, then you get to work and you're sweaty. and then you're miserable, right? So the tools you use to get to work shape the way your day looks. The tools you use shape the way you work. If you use email, your day will look in a certain way. If you use messaging, your work will look something different, right?
Yep.
That is the core belief that ByteDance has in terms of how do you work more efficiently. We need to build a tool that is extremely, as we said in the earlier segment, extremely mobile friendly, and where everything is in one. Now, with that, let me talk about a couple of the features that I think are exceptional.
All right.
First of all, back down to communication, right?
Okay.
I love the fact that I can write a message in English and I can send it to my colleagues in Manila and they receive it in Tagalog.
Wow.
Right? They respond in Tagalog, but I don't speak Tagalog, or not, at least not yet.
Not yet.
Yeah.
Knowing you can add the seventh language in there.
So, and that removes friction from how you communicate, because otherwise somebody has to write in a language that's not natural to them. So maybe they can't express themselves properly, right? So having this, automated language translation is a godsend. It works in chat. It works in video calls with subtitles. It works in documents you write. So that removes a ton of pain for cross-border business. It's amazing. Another feature that I really like is a built-in approvals function. So many businesses say when they need to have something approved, right? What do? You email your boss, or you write a memo, or you go tap somebody on the shoulder, right? This is a no-code platform where you say, all right, I need a new pencil, or I need a discount, or I need, I need to spend something on marketing campaign, whatever.
Yep.
Put it in the platform. I get a message in Lark, which is a chat system. And right from the message, I can click the thing. I can see who wants what. There's a whole list of who's approved it before. I can click approve. And there's automatically a track record of, it's marked, and there's a log, right? It's amazing. Yep. I can do that on my mobile from anywhere.
And I can just imagine the type of blockers that on a normal work environment would have accumulated just because there's no approval functionality. And now it's just like, all right, I don't even have the message. It's like, boom, done. And then the team flows.
Exactly. So that's another thing I love about it. I love the fact that you can have a video meeting that you record, and you have automated, you have an automatic recording of what's being said, and that transcript can be translated into any of 19 languages as well.
What?
Right? Yeah. So it's
that's crazy.
Text, then you translate that. It's really great for catching up on meetings that you weren't able to be a part of. You also have an AI summarization feature that you can use as well, which is really cool.
Wow. Just imagine that. Again, these are just some of the functionalities. But if there's one secret hack that you like to use, as obviously the guy that's been in Lark with the cheat codes, what is the ultimate Lark cheat code that you like to use?
Oh wow! If I really had to pick one, that's really tough, man. There's so many good things,
Or two. Again, there's not just one. Okay.
This is not a cop-out answer, right? What I love about it, and I think the real superpower, right, that really makes it what it is not any individual feature, right? It's the fact that it really is all in one, and because it's all in one, everything is tied together. And the fact that everything is tied together is what makes this really stand aside, right? There are other chat tools. There are other tools that do language translation. There are other tools that do word processing in meetings. The fact that this is all together, and that when you use all of it together, right, you have a lot more mileage.
That's amazing.
What they used to say is that if you want to go, when birds fly together as a flock, they go much farther, right?
Yep.
It's the same thing here. All these different things that otherwise would be standalone products,
right?
Or really just functionalities. And when you use this all of it together, you actually really supercharge your day and your productivity. And that, to me, is what's the most amazing thing.
That is amazing. And you're absolutely right. And especially if you're a founder and you're trying to just run your business as fast and efficiently as where you actually just get more things done at a hyper scale. That's the functionality you need, where it's like, hey, where's this, where's that, where's this, where's that? You waste so much time just trying to figure out where things are to get things done. And the one kicker, and again, I'm very much a type of guy that respect fellow founders, and that because of how they scale it. Just the fact that Mama Lou's, who we just had here several weeks ago, uses you guys, and they're in hyperscale mode, as their internal work super app, says a lot. And also Kumu, which people know how I love Roland and the guys and doing this. If those guys can build amazing companies using Lark, I don't know what else you need to know, right? But that's the ultimate mic drop there.
My advice to anybody is, give it a try, right?
Yeah.
You don't lose anything. Take a look, give it a try, and if you like it, adopt it, right? Mm-hmm. Come to us, we can help you also. Mm-hmm. But it's super easy to adopt. It is, and it really does change the way companies work.
There you go. That is super amazing. But again, before I let you go, Mark, again, I know you're busy, and we're recording this on a Friday night, and there's already a big rain cloud right by you. Just kidding. But can you share a little bit about how we can connect with you, avail your services, if they want to try it out and they're convinced that, all right, Ron, you got me. Where do they go, and how do they do that?
Yeah, sure. Look, super simple. Head to our website at www.larksuites.com and click on contact us, and we'll contact you. You can also download it there for free. You can download it from the App Store on the Apple App Store or the Android Play Store, and all of these. It's available on mobile. We have a very nice, generous free tier that for people to come and try. So plenty of different ways.
Yep. And again, just try it out, and you will get blown away of like getting all these things you pay for separately in subscriptions, all wrapped in one.
Oh, and one more thing, check us out on LinkedIn, follow us there, and then you'll hear from us. You'll see we're always posting different kinds of use cases there. Yep. So if you want to have a few ideas, check out our LinkedIn posts, and you will see you'll get to see plenty of stuff.
That is amazing. Thank you so much, Mark, for that amazing episode. But before I let you go, follow us in whatever podcast app you're listening to, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to podcasts. And if we did say some jargon, or if you missed out the link, don't worry. It's going to be the show notes on hustleshare.com. And if you also want to support Hustleshare and doing content like this, just like Lark, please do subscribe at premium.hustleshare.com. Again, Mark, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. And I'll see you guys in the next episode. Peace.